And I knew the shit I would get. People would be like, it's Sweet Home Alabama, it's Where Was London? Uh-huh, then why didn't you do it?
Dude, so I have a story to start this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know how when we cover these artists, for whatever reason, they start popping up in your life everywhere?
Oh, yeah. It manifests. This happens all the time. Like we were covering Billy Ray, and then he randomly showed up 30 minutes from our house.
Yeah, and I know in real life it's that phenomenon, like when you learn a new word, you see it everywhere. I know it's that, but like part of me likes to think that we're influencing the universe in some way.
Yeah, we're like
That's
our own...
the real reason.
No, we're our own Truman Show, and that is what
Yeah.
I choose to believe.
So I was at the bar. We were hanging with family friends, me and my wife and this other couple. And we're at a normal bar that's not normally like this, but they're having a cornhole or bags, whatever you want to call it, tournament there.
Yeah.
And the bags crowd is weird, dude. I will tell you that up front. But anyway, we're just, minding our own business at the bar. And there's this group next to us, and one really big guy, and then one really little guy, think like David Miscavige size, Tom Cruise size. And the big guy, all of a sudden, he just goes, "Come here, you little shit!" And he grabs him like the only way I can describe it is like how you grab a bag of flour, one arm through the guy's legs, and one arm like around his head and neck, shoulder area,
like a officer trying to arrest a child.
Yeah, so he's holding him up in this hilariously comically way, and clearly this is a grown man.
Yeah, so
he's upset that he's being treated like this. He literally just starts like hitting this guy, full arm swings in his dick, like as hard as he can. Wham, wham. And the guy's really drunk, and he just sits there and like takes it blank faced for like 4 dick punches. Like,
whoa,
way more than you'd think.
How wasted was this guy?
Well, then he finally lets the guy down, and the guy's still mad, and he does one more just square shoulders straight at him, hits him in the dick. Finally, that gets the guy. He doubles up, and he's like, and then the little guy is like clearly mad, but trying to laugh it off at the same time.
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds after this is all done, and we're all going like, did we just watch a grown man punch another grown man in the dick 5 times?
Yeah.
Kid Rock Ba with the Boss starts on the jukebox. And all I could think is like, these two events were completely related. I'm willing to bet either the dick puncher or the guy who started all this. One of the two did this.
Oh my God. No, it wasn't either of them, Cal. I'll tell you what it was. It was the spirit. Okay, the spirit of Kid Rock. Generations from now, Kid Rock might not last in musical form. People won't remember his music. Like they're not going to know about Devil Without a Cause. They're not going to remember him the way we were. I think he's just going to like transform into some kind of local animus legend. Yeah. Like he's going to like be the patron saint of like white trash culture. And he's just going to like haunt the vibes of the various dives of white America.
He was there at that small town bags tournament.
Yeah.
and that is why I watched a grown man dick punch another grown man several times.
You know what I love about that too is like you said that the guy doing the punching was like way bigger than the other guy.
No, he was way little.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
He was upset. He got lifted in the air like you would lift a 3-year-old that's trying to run away from you.
So that's why he has to. I was gonna say like if it was the big guy punching the little guy in the dick, that's totally unfair. But the little guy, it's like the only way he can get parody.
All I could think too is the way that his brain immediately went to dick punches. Makes me think like this has happened to him quite a bit. Because that's the biggest thing we took away. Like, I don't think that's where I would have started. Just immediate full arm swings as hard as you can.
It's like, well, gotta go for the dick again.
Yeah.
Welcome to Polishing Turds with Nick and Cal. My name is Nick.
And I'm Cal.
And this is the show where we take a deep dive into the wonderful world of bad music. All right, folks, welcome to part 4 of our extended study of the man, the myth, the trucker, the bull god, the pimp of the nation, the monster from Motown, the white kid who rocks, the man who single-handedly gave us the gifts of both auto-tune and country rap, Mr. Kid Rock. Woo!
Yep.
We're still here.
I know.
There's part 4. Like, I know people are just, why are we
still doing this?
Talking about this guy?
Yeah, but the last one was my favorite so far. So, those of you who are still here, thank you. It's going to keep getting better.
Yeah, it's like The Wire. It's only going to keep getting
As this man
richer.
gets cringier, these episodes get funnier.
So, let me apologize. I'm getting over a cold, so my voice probably sounds a little shittier than usual. But when you consider that the guy we're about to talk about, you're going to hear him sing rather than rap in this episode. And you're probably going to come to appreciate my voice a lot better.
Yeah, this was one of the tougher listening assignments.
I told Cal before we started here, I was kind of sadistically excited because I knew how much he was going to hate this particular phase of Kid Rock's career.
It feels designed like a bingo card or a paint by numbers to hit every single thing I hate the most in music. And it's all in one guy's discography. I gave a lot of shit to Nickelback and Black Eyed Peas about being pandering and not genuine and just kind of like being lazy about music. This took all that to a new level. I feel like I owe an apology to Nickelback.
What would you say, if anything, is different about the way Kid Rock panders in this phase?
I think it's just, this is the logical conclusion of pandering. I mean, this sits somewhere in between Nickelback level and like that Logan Paul Christmas song we did in the Christmas special. This is, I think, as pandering as you can get and not just call it like Songs for Country People Volume 1.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's going after a demographic and like really just soaking himself in all of that greasy redneck Confederate persona.
Yeah, and I think you have to be like a specific kind of dumb to actually fall for this. Because this comes off like if I was going to write a parody of country music or a satire of a country album, it would sound like these albums he's actually putting out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't satirize this. It's at the point of stupidity where it just, you would think it was satire if you didn't know better.
I think part of what this episode is going to expose is kind of fault lines in our culture. We both grew up in middle-class families. Both of us had 2 college-educated parents and came from generations of that. In my dad's worldview, my dad was like, he was a musician. He was a relative free thinker. He was pretty cool with most things. But the one thing that you could never be around him, the one thing that he would never let me become was white trash. That was the worst thing in his estimation. I remember one time, I was young. I was like maybe like 9 or something like that. And I was hanging out on the front porch barefoot. And he said, "Go put shoes on." and I was like, why? Who cares? It's summer. And like, he's like, or at least put socks on. And I couldn't understand like why. I don't care. I like this. And he said to me, "Because we're not that type of people." Like, and he meant it too.
Right.
And like my parents, they're not like snooty,
right,
people, but like they knew that there was something about a particular mode of behavior that is associated with a class of people that we have deemed to be lower class in the United States.
You need me to get you a jug, son? You need a banjo while you're sitting out here?
So, and yet Kid Rock is taking that thing that my dad thought was just the root of all evil and just like holding it up as the epitome of what he wants to become,
right,
what he wants his audience to be, and what he thinks is like the highest platonic form of value in the world.
And that's the key to it too, is what he thinks is that.
Yeah.
Because that was the other thing I struggle with, is now that we've gone through 3 parts of Kid Rock's history, and I know the man, at least his early days, listening to him sing some of these lines with a straight face, he's some, down home country guy, grew up in a trailer, loves this stuff. It just hurts. Like, You had an apple orchard in your fucking property.
I know. It's just amazing the fact that he can sell all of this and get away with it.
Right, yeah. You've been hanging with rappers since you were 19. Like, and I'm just not buying any of it.
Yeah. Well, so far in this series, the music that we've heard from Kid Rock has been primarily rooted in hip-hop. But as most of you know, in recent years, his music is now associated with a new genre, country. You see, even in the late 90s, Kid Rock knew that rap rock wasn't going to last forever. In fact, he apparently thought the entire genre was quote-unquote gay. So over the course of the 2000s, Bob Ritchie began to consciously shift his music in another direction. We've seen him do this multiple times already, but this shift was arguably his riskiest yet, since it involved catering to an audience that stands outside the worlds of both pop and rock. But ultimately, this high-stakes gamble paid off, and Kid Rock has become a fixture in the country world ever since. So, let me just kind of correct one thing up front. This is all about like Kid Rock's quote-unquote country years, but it's not 100% accurate to say he's country. Really, the music that he starts making, beginning in like 2001-ish, is a kind of a mix of like country with southern rock, blues, gospel, classic rock, a couple of other things. And you're going to pan this music quite a bit, I imagine, but it is quite diverse relative to the stuff he's done previously. And when you compare him to like the bullshit country you hear with like Florida Georgia Line or whatever, it's a darn sight better than that in my estimation.
I put it in the same tier.
Yeah? You don't hear the difference?
For me, it is all pandering, low musical value music.
But if you just hearing the basic like sounds itself, regardless of what we know about the man, let's assume that this actually did come from a guy who, like Billy Ray, did grow up in the sticks. And
yeah, I guess if we did that, the best I could say was like, fine, not for me though.
Yeah. And I do think some of it is fine. Like, this is music that he's really drawing from the stuff he grew up with, like the Bob Seger, Lynyrd Skynyrd, etc. He's just kind of like synthesizing that and putting his voice on top of it. So, today's episode, we're going to actually focus on a big swath of Kid Rock's career. We're going to cover 7 albums that he made between 2001 and 2017. For anyone keeping score, those albums are Cocky, his self-titled album Kid Rock, Rock and Roll Jesus, Born Free, Rebel Soul, First Kiss, and Sweet Southern Sugar.
God damn it. He's not even Southern.
Yeah.
Just from the names of those albums, you should know what you're in for today.
Yeah. For those of you that don't live in the U.S., Detroit is actually in the northern part of the United States.
Yeah.
Kid Rock does not seem to understand that.
I've been Southern this whole time.
So, in light of like how massive this body of music is, we're not going to kind of run through each album like we normally do. Instead, I'm just going to kind of paint in broad strokes and just look at this whole phase, this fourth form of Kid Rock, as it were, and just talk about the music as a whole and just try to like understand the different angles of it and the different styles that he kind of brings to the table here. We're also going to be covering some of the events from Kid Rock's personal life, including his marriage to Pamela Anderson, the resulting feud with Tommy Lee, and that time he got arrested for punching a dude in a Waffle House.
Least surprising sentences of all time.
All right, so that's just some of what you're in for today. So without further ado, let's get rolling.
All right.
Now, for many fans, Kid Rock's pivot from balls-to-the-wall hard rock to gas station country was a puzzling one. But if you've been following our story thus far, you can see that it was pretty much hiding in plain sight. Recall those early years when young Bobby was kept awake on Friday nights by the sound of his drunk parents blasting Bob Seger and Waylon Jennings from the family barn. For all of his hip-hop pretensions, Americana music is embedded in Bob Ritchie's DNA. We got hints of this in Kid Rock's early years. On his second album, The Polyfuse Method, there's a song called Desperate Rado, a clumsy play on the word desperado. This song can be considered a precursor of sorts to Cowboy and features lyrics such as, you want to do this one, Cal?
Why not? All right. Back in the motherfucking saddle, my 6-shooter strapped, and I'm looking for a battle. Out on the plains, I'm just a loner. My saddle rubs right, yo, and it's giving me a boner.
I love the idea that he's like just getting sexually aroused on the back of a horse and bragging about it.
Look at this boner this horse gave me, dude. Isn't this cool? Yeah, even for a 20-something, I don't know. It's you can't be forgiven for a line like that.
It's just weird, man. And then, so there's that. And then, of course, we also mentioned that he covered Hank Williams Jr. on the Fire It Up EP. We've got the song Cowboy, which features a lot of classically country and Western instrumentation. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's the song Only God Knows Why, which is really just him trying to sound like a country guy in a lonely little dive bar complaining about, you know,
being too famous.
And
that song, I think, is the catalyst. That song becoming a hit, I think, is what opened his eyes to like, oh, I could go that direction.
It's like, oh, I could do this. He's really testing the waters. It's like if you really want to have a threesome with your partner and you're just like dropping hints. It's like you know, Bill and Susan, like they had Jana over last night. Like, isn't that interesting?
It's working for them.
And yet, so far, Kid Rock had yet to really dive into the country pool with both feet. But all of that changed with the release of his 5th studio album, Cocky, in 2001. Did you ever listen to this one, Cal?
No, I will admit to you and the listeners, I have not made it all the way through Cocky, ever.
Yeah, did you hear it at all back in the day?
No, because I think this is the one that lost me. Like, he made that American Badass song right before this, and I was donezo. Not that I was planning on sticking around Kid Rock much longer anyway, but I remember thinking, oh, that's what he's up to now, I'm done. And I never gave Cocky any sort of fair shot.
I think I remember I bought it, but I didn't really listen to it more than once or twice because I was starting to see through it. Like, I was like probably 14 by then. And that's old enough for me to realize like this guy's full of shit. I will say that like re-listening to it, I kind of appreciate it a little bit more. Like it's, there's a couple of songs I actually kind of like in spite of themselves. There's a song called Lonely Road of Faith, which it's him trying to be Skinnered, but he pulls it off a little bit better this time.
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing about that album is like he's juxtaposing songs like that with like songs where he's clearly trying to go back to Devil Without a Cause.
Right. It's the Nickelback issue. The same thing we said with them.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you can't sing that song right after this song.
Yeah.
You know, if one's going to be about drinking and fucking hoes, you can't do a sincere, heartfelt ballad on the very next track. No, I'm not going to buy it.
And he does that, and it's very extreme and polarizing, and it just doesn't... It's a very clunky album overall.
I gotta say, too, randoms aside, you know, everyone has those words they hate. Like, a lot of people hate the word moist.
Yeah.
Cocky is that word for me. I don't like hearing the word. I don't like saying it. I cannot explain why. I don't have a good reason.
It's just
a word I don't like.
I think he titled it that because he just he wanted to have the word cock in it somehow.
Well, and he is cocky.
Yeah, he is.
So,
and he's proud of it.
Yeah.
Like
no, it's on brand. I get it. It's just, yeah, for me, it's not much different than naming an album Moist.
Yeah.
Like, I just have trouble taking this one seriously out the gate.
Another thing about this album is, you remember how on Devil Without a Cause, the artwork on the CD itself, the actual disc, is him giving the middle finger.
Mm-hmm.
On Cocky, he's giving him 2 middle fingers.
Oh, shit. He upped the ante.
He's up in the ante. That's his growth as an artist.
What's he going to do in the next one? Like, learn to put one toe up?
It's 2 middle fingers and his cock is erect because he's been on the saddle for a little too long. So
I really like horses.
So anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is the fourth single off of Cocky was a duet with country legend Sheryl Crow. And this was a pretty big departure from the whole shit-kicking redneck thing that we had with Devil Without a Cause. And I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. This song was all over the radio. It is called Picture.
I put your picture away, sat down and cried today. I can't look at you while I'm lying next to her. I put your picture away, sat down and cried today. I can't look at you while I'm lying next to her.
I called you last night in the hotel. Everyone knows but they won't tell. But their half-hearted smiles tell me something just ain't right.
What am I supposed to say that I haven't said 100 times about songs like this? Everyone knows exactly what I think.
I know, you don't like it. You know what? I know it's sappy, but I kind of like it. I think this is a fine song.
The song itself musically is fine. Yeah, it's not doing anything original, but it's fine. I struggle with the lyrical content in knowing it's Kid Rock. Because it's, again, he's such a fucking narcissist. Even it comes through even in the way that he writes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm out here fucking another woman every night. Poor me. Like, he has to fit a humble brag even in his ballad.
It's so funny that, like, you know, on Devil Without a Cause, like, 11 of the 12 songs are about how, like, yeah, I fuck so many bitches. And then only God knows why it's like, I fuck so many bitches. it's just the same thing, except now instead of like thinking it's cool, you're supposed to think like, oh, poor guy.
I know, man. That must have been a rough 10 years. Doing free drugs, banging 10 out of 10s. Oof.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, actually in that song, lyrically, like both him and Sheryl Crow are like cheating on each other and they both feel bad about it. They're supposed to like cancel each other out. Somehow
two wrongs make a right in this instance.
Yeah. But with Sheryl, it's like, it just seems like it's just one guy. But with Kid Rock, it's like all these other girls, and he's doing coke, and he's hasn't seen the sunrise in 3 damn days.
Yesterday I brought you herpes. Today I'm bringing you crabs.
I don't know. So, but anyway, like, do you remember that song at all?
No, not at all.
Oh my God, it was huge.
I must have been fully in my hole of black metal, avoiding all radio. That's all I can figure.
Well, good for you, man. I remember VH1 loved this song a lot. It was on radio, and it was like one of the best charting songs Kid Rock ever had. It was the first song that charted on the country charts for him, but it was number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. So it was like really a big crossover national hit for him.
See, look at the lesson we're teaching him. You know, we make Only God Knows Why a hit, and then you make this his biggest song of all time.
Yeah, it's like, I can do this.
Yeah, obviously this is what he's going to start making.
Yeah. So like it just kind of opens up another wormhole in his mind. It's like, hey, this is an avenue for me.
Yep.
This song was also nominated for Vocal Event of the Year at the 2003 CMAs.
Holy shit! 2003 must have been a rough year for vocal events.
What counts as a vocal event? if Tim McGraw stands on the corner and, you know, says like, I want to fuck a goose, like, is that's a vocal event? Can you get nominated for that?
Yeah, no, in theory.
In February of 2002, the Country Music Television Network broadcast a concert event called Crossroads, featuring the joint performance of Kid Rock and one of his heroes, Hank Williams Jr. Cal, do you know anything about Hank Jr. or have any thoughts?
I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm aware he's a country legend.
Yeah.
And he's the son of Hank Williams, obviously.
Yeah. And
the dad of Hank Williams III, who is the only one of them I really can pretend to know anything at all.
Yeah, he's kind of the cool one. Hank
Yeah.
3 is like the like country for hipster people.
Yep.
You don't like country.
And I think that's why he's like entered the path of things I'm aware of.
But you are aware of, are you ready for some football?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I think that's how most people relate to Hank Jr. And then remember when he got kicked off of that for like 10 years because he compared Obama to Hitler?
I didn't actually remember that. I became aware of it brushing up for this episode.
Yeah.
Because I did a quick Google and I just wanted to see what the guy's about. And I saw that and I was like, whoa.
So that's one of the things he's about. But he's he's country, but he's kind of like more on Kid Rock's end of country, where like he isn't, he's actually got a lot of songs that I genuinely do like and are like genuinely good songs, but he loves to sing songs about like whiskey and trucks and sex, and he's a little more on the rowdy end of that experience. So Kid Rock first met Hank when he was invited to do a cameo in the video for Hank's song "Naked Women and Beer." Pretty on brand for both of these guys.
Yep.
Kid Rock has a little anecdote that's a little telling. So Kid Rock was wearing a lot of jewelry at the time. He had a big gold ring with his initials KR on it.
His initials.
Yeah. And Hank made a comment about it that somehow invoked the N-word.
Oh my God.
It's like, you like that kind of blank, bling.
Oh God.
And Kid Rock, that actually made Kid Rock feel very uneasy, because I genuinely don't think Kid Rock is a racist. Like,
right. He's just an ignorant dumbass.
Yeah. But like, he didn't like hearing Hank use that word. And then Hank comes back with, "Well, I like it too." And he showed a similar ring with HW on it. So that's how the two became friends.
Conceptually, that's funny. I just wish he had used a different context.
Yeah. Also consider that this was the year 2000, where like stuff like that was not acceptable, but like wasn't going to get you immediately canceled the way it probably would today.
Yeah. No, the part I find funny is just the fake out of like freaking someone out, like saying something really serious to them, and they'd be like, "Me too, bitch." But
so that's the kind of guy Hank is. Like, he might not be that racist either, but he's definitely coarse and just of that old school generation of guys.
Yeah.
He's a good old boy. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this Crossroads concert because to me, in retrospect, it feels like this concert was just designed to sell Kid Rock as a country musician, with, Hank Jr. just kind of holding his hand throughout the whole process. And I want to bring your attention to this little moment from this concert where it just seems like Kid Rock's ambition is going to be really stark and apparent.
Could I borrow your cowboy hat for 1 second?
Yeah. No, it's over there. You got it, brother. There you go.
You know what I'd like to do right now? I would like to introduce somebody who I think is one of the most talented, young and up-and-coming country singers. Really, somebody phenomenal that I look up to. And I know, me and Hank are here, and you wonder who could that be from Kid Rock, Well, I would like you to introduce him, and I would like you to give him a big round of applause. Please, give it up for Kid Country. How are y'all? Nice to see you. Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm so happy to be here, and we hope we can give you some good country music next year. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, so in case you couldn't tell, what happens is someone from the audience hands him this like silver-studded cowboy hat. He's already wearing a hat, but he puts on the hat, and then suddenly he's Kid Country.
It's one of the lamest things I've seen in a while.
It's like if you had scripted that, like, you would get chastised for bad writing.
Yeah, and the amount of setup he put into that joke. And then poor Hank Williams has to sit up there and yuck it up with him like he's one of the Sunday morning football guys. Like I have to pretend this is funny because I'm on TV.
I don't even know if he's pretending, Cal. I think he genuinely likes Kid Rock and sees like a younger version of himself. There's so many clips of them being on stage. Like they've done a number of songs together. Like I think like Hank Jr. is like a weird father figure to Kid Rock. Like a weird stepdad that doesn't give him an Oedipus complex. Now, as he was developing himself musically, Kid Rock was also adapting to life as a bona fide celebrity. And so we're going to kind of get into his personal life here. And of course, he was doing a lot of partying and shit. Just a lot of drugs, drinking, coke. And yet the weird thing about Kid Rock is, when you really study his life, it feels like he always knew when to pull back at just the right moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did a lot of drinking and drugs, but like never enough that it like sent him over the edge.
Yeah, he never had his weird burnout phase. I got to go to rehab.
No, he never went full like Scott Stapp with any of that stuff.
No, I agree. He always looks, fit and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he never fully went off the deep end with his health.
Part of the reason for that may have been because he was still taking care of his son full time. Like ever since like 95, he's had sole custody of his kid. And he's always found a way to, raise this kid. I don't know what kind of father he is, but like Bob Jr. isn't like, on the streets.
Right.
And so I assume he did a pretty decent job. Kid Rock would actually arrange his tours so that he would play a couple of nights and then fly back to Detroit for the weekends to take care of his son, and then fly back out to do the tour. So it wasn't like the nonstop grind that like a band like Nickelback would do.
I can't imagine, I think about this actually pretty often, how you be a touring musician with a family. It seems mutually exclusive.
Most of them like just make the choice. They either bring their families on the road, which, can have its own set of problems, or they just leave them behind and like the nannies basically raise the kids, through their childhood. It was a big problem for Billy Ray because Miley remembers that for a lot of her childhood, she didn't see her dad, but he did bring Trace on the road, and Trace ended up getting into all kinds of drugs and shit.
I would lean, if it were me, I would lean nannies. I gotta say, I don't think the kid needs to be exposed to the people you're going to meet on the road.
It's like, I will put you in the best boarding schools and I'm going to bankroll the whole thing, but like, I will be the absentee dad in your life that you will complain about and maybe write a great novel about
right?
because you have the tools to write that novel because I sent you to boarding school.
Yeah. You weren't out watching me do coke off of people.
I put your picture away. And of course, Kid Rock had his steady stream of females in his life. But for one brief and bizarre moment, one woman did manage to tie him down. And that woman, of course, is Pam Anderson.
Yeah.
Did you watch the documentary at all, Cal?
I watched like
Netflix?
half of it.
Did you get to the part where they talk about Kid Rock?
Yeah, a little bit.
What I love about that is like, because they're interviewing her two adult sons. They get to the part where they see Kid Rock in some home movie or something, and then one of them says like, "Oh, that must have been Bob," and the other going just rolls his eyes in such a telling way. Like they do not like this guy. They do not have any respect for him.
I get the vibe he's a classic narcissist.
Yes,
and I can't imagine he would be an amazing stepdad. I'm willing to bet he's the stepdad that like he comes over and you're like, now I have to listen to Bob talk about himself for the next 4 hours. He strikes me as one of those people.
I think, I don't know. I'm going to give him a little bit more credit than that. I think he's the kind of guy that like you could hang out with him. You could go fishing with him. You could maybe go hunting, or I guess, whatever kinds of stuff he likes to do. I think the problem with Pam was that Kid Rock's all about this like living in Michigan and like hanging out in the woods and that kind of shit. And Pam, like, she grew up in Vancouver and lives in Hollywood and like very much is embedded in LA culture and likes it. Mm-hmm. And Kid Rock doesn't like that at all. And they really kind of clashed on those two things. And when you understand this marriage in the context of Pamela Anderson's life, she had just gotten out of like this extremely long and complicated and twisted relationship with Tommy Lee. And this is an obvious rebound situation, like the clearest example of that you'll ever see. And Kid Rock just seems completely oblivious to the dynamics of all of that. All right, so Pam and Kid Rock met in 2001 while they were both attending a VH1 tribute to Aretha Franklin, which I love. Like, who invited them there?
Yeah.
I guess, like, okay, Aretha was from Detroit. I guess you got to get every relevant Detroit musician in the building.
That is the only tie I can think of. But again, then you're putting her songs next to Bow at the Ba and Fuck Off and saying he belongs here.
I actually got a message from a fan recently that's fondly remembered a time that she was at an Elton John concert and Kid Rock was sitting in the VIP area with Eminem and a couple of other guys. And I was thinking, okay, clearly Elton John has never heard any of Kid Rock's lyrics. Because
him and I think he purposely was building bridges with rappers that had said homophobic things, because he did that duet with Eminem.
Yeah,
after Criminal had been released.
He's just
I'm sure it's like an olive branch situation. He invited him there or something.
Why does he feel like he's got to like make all these overtures to like?
I know,
bigots?
that's what I'd be like. You're a legend, man. You can ignore Kid Rock. You don't have to respond to him.
You're the one that's on the right side of history. I don't know, but anyway, Kid Rock and Pamela meet this way. They got engaged within a year, but then shit got complicated. They broke off their engagement in 2003. And then in 2006, something happens. Like, some of their friends like arrange some kind of trip where they both end up on a yacht together without either of them knowing that that's going to happen.
Pam needs better friends. She escapes the kid and her friend's like, we need to set that back up.
Actually, that's one of the things you get from that documentary is it's just a series of toxic relationships. She just has really bad taste in men.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a dick, but the whole time I was watching, I was thinking like, she had a type.
and it's not her fault because like her dad was trash too, but like, that's just like kind of what happens. But anyway, like they rekindle this romance and they get married in 2006 and their marriage lasts a grand total of 4 months.
All right.
So, we already mentioned some of the things that made that complicated with the kids and, not wanting to be rednecks and shit. But apparently the tipping point was the fact that Pamela was featured in Borat, where, I forget exactly how like it works in the first Borat.
It's the most heavily scripted bit in the thing. I'm surprised that he let this get to him because it's the most clearly faked.
Yeah.
But he goes to her book signing and he puts her in a traditional marriage bag, which is where he throws a bag on her head and starts trying to capture her. Like, she knew it was coming and security knew it was coming. It's the only part of the film you can say it was clearly scripted.
Yeah. Okay, I remember now.
So it's weird it bugged him. It's like that was the fake part.
Yeah, like he stormed out of the house. Like
put a bag on my wife.
Yeah. So like apparently, the ball with the ball, like I, do coke and acid and shit guy has some very traditional views on marriage. So he that was apparently what led to the relationship ending. I've also seen in one interview where Kid Rock kind of hints that Pam Anderson faked a miscarriage, which I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't believe that. It's kind of fucked up.
We've all seen Pam's acting.
That's one way of putting it.
I don't believe this either.
Yeah, so that's unless it's true, that's a really fucked up thing to say about a woman. But I digress. And then what all this led to was at the 2007 Video Music Awards, Kid Rock gets into a confrontation with Tommy Lee, Pam's ex. And, he's they're not together anymore, but Tommy Lee still feels very possessive over Pam, partly because they had a long relationship, but also because he's a pretty toxic dude himself.
Right.
And so they get into some kind of verbal beef and Kid Rock punches him. Somehow this wasn't on camera, but it was bad enough that Kid Rock was charged with misdemeanor assault.
If I had to celebrity deathmatch these two guys, I think I'd put my money on Tommy Lee every time.
Yeah.
I think Tommy, he gets hit by Kid Rock and it sounds like he didn't hit back, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I think he knew this guy can't hurt me and he's the one getting charged if I do nothing. And he just let this go.
Kid Rock feels like the kind of guy where it's like much more bark than bite.
Yeah. Even me, like Cal Dennison in real life. I think if Kid Rock was swinging at me, I don't think I'd be too freaked out on the list of scary humans in the world.
About a month after he punched Tommy Lee, Kid Rock again lost his temper in public and paid a price for it. But this time, the circumstances are so hilariously on brand that I wouldn't be surprised if he orchestrated this whole thing on purpose. In October of 2007, Kid Rock was arrested again after getting into a fight at a Waffle House. And again, just like, it just like you hear that, you read that headline and it just sounds like the most Kid Rock thing imaginable.
Right. I'm surprised he didn't have a song called I Like to Fight at the Waffle House before he did this.
He should, yeah. You should have put it into a video or something, like just been like a little bit self-referential about it. I think that would have played.
Well, I think the problem is he knows. So there is a video of this that Nick showed me.
Yeah.
I think he knows he kind of looks like a bitch. He only jumped that guy because he had 3 bodyguards with him willing to help.
No, like he had his like whole crew with him.
Yeah.
And so this happened at about 5 o'clock in the morning at a Waffle House in Atlanta. Kid Rock admitted later that he had been drinking because
the only time you're at a Waffle House at 5 is if you've been drinking.
Oh, of course. Like Waffle House is like one of those great American institutions where like they're all open 24/7 and it's just like, it's amazing hungover food. I would never eat it like sober.
I've never been to a Waffle House sober, literally.
No, but like if you're high or drunk, it's like, it's just the best thing this side of Taco Bell. So, okay. So he is in the bar in the restaurant with his crew and some guy who also happens to be there recognizes a female member of Kid Rock's entourage. Apparently they had some kind of personal relationship. And so this guy says some words to this female. Kid Rock apparently jumps to her defense. Like, what you saying, buddy? That kind of a vibe. And they start to scuffle a little bit. Some people try to break it up. Kid Rock and this guy take it outside, and that's where like it turns into an actual fight. And it was bad enough that Kid Rock got arrested, and he spent 12 hours in a holding cell. He was eventually charged with battery, sentenced to 80 hours of community service.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it actually even gets a little bit weirder from there. You know, because so he gets community service. Okay, like he's a rich guy. That's like typically what would happen with a celebrity of Kid Rock's stature. But what Kid Rock wanted to do for his community service sentence is he wanted to perform music for the troops as part of his sentencing. And that is something that a lot of celebrities get away with, like when they had community service. Like famously, O.J. Simpson, you know, back in the 80s, he beat the shit out of his wife, Nicole, and he got community service for that. And some of his community service, actually most of it, was doing like celebrity golf tournaments.
Yeah, okay, that's horseshit.
Yeah, so that's an extreme example, but this type of stuff happens with celebrities all the time. The judge in this case was a guy named Alvin T. Wong, and he denied this request because he said correctly, this is the type of thing that Kid Rock would do anyway. Yeah. And like you playing your music that you like devote your life to and want to perform isn't doing community service.
Yeah. No, good for Alvin T. Wong.
Yeah.
I am totally with him. You don't get to like further your own brand and your own business as part of your punishment. Yeah. Punishment is the key word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see Kid Rock in an orange suit on the side of the highway picking shit up.
Yeah, right. Maybe some trucker recognizes him. It's like,
hey, that's the kid.
It's a kid.
It's that white kid who rocks.
So yeah, and apparently Kid Rock got pissed off enough that he wrote like a blog post about it or something, and he, according to something I saw, posted the judge's phone number online.
Yeah, that's okay. So he was doxing before it was cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked. So why do I bring all this up? Well, first of all, I think most of this shit is pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I kind of suspect that the totality of all this drama, all this kind of chaos, as much as it does suit Kid Rock's brand and like it's kind of cool and funny and reestablishes himself as like this kind of a badass redneck kind of a guy. It's really a lot to deal with for him personally. And I get this sense that he really, in the mid 2000s, started to really get tired of Hollywood, like tired of being a celebrity in that sense. Like he likes being a well-known musician, but he doesn't like having TMZ reporters follow him around. Like he was never cut out to be that type of guy.
Right. And it's someone who just entered their mid 30s. You know, I totally empathize with this.
Yeah. Like I don't ever want to be famous in the traditional sense. I want this podcast to be as well known as it can be, but like I don't want like people to recognize me in a restaurant. That'd be horrible. Fuck that. And we talked in like episode 2 about how like he got off on people recognizing him in restaurants and shit back when he was just kind of hustling in Detroit and it was new and cool for him. But now that he's like actually done it on this scale, he realizes like, oh man, this sucks. Way too fucking much.
Yep.
In 2010, he comes out with a song called Slow My Roll. And in this song, he proclaims, quote, "Today's the day I'm going to take things slow, try and change my ways, forgive and let all that go." I think that's like kind of the vibe that he's going for. Like by this point, he's in his like mid 30s, early 40s. He's still like partying and drinking and having random sex, but it's starting to kind of take its toll a little bit.
You know, someone who's as aware of branding as he is, I think he knows it gets a little sad after a certain age. Like there is this point where it's not cool.
Something that BEP didn't recognize.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, Cal. It's like the people that were doing that shit with you all along, they're starting to get older too. So you got to change with them.
Yep.
And I think explains a lot of why Kid Rock made this pivot. Country music has an older audience, and it just, you can adapt by constantly changing to adapt to what the kids are listening to, which is what Will.i.am does, or you could do what Kid Rock did, which is, to me, marginally more respectable.
Yeah, stick with my audience. Just talk about how much I drink, not how much I do other drugs. That's what country people like.
So yeah, I love Budweiser, but acid's for freaks.
Yep.
And then there's another angle to this. I read an article from the New Yorker where he's quoted as saying that once he started switching to singing as opposed to rapping, it kind of forced him to stay away from like alcohol and the nonstop partying, because you have to actually take care of your voice.
Yes.
You know, just ask, Robert Plant or Noel Gallagher, someone like that. He's quoted as saying, "You can stay up till fucking 9 a.m. and do a show rhyming high. You can't do that with singing. You can't party and fucking sing." So yeah, like he is, he really is slowing his roll because that's what, his career needs at this point.
I do have to give some credit here too. Of he says you can stay up till fucking 9 and do a show rhyming high.
Yeah.
I don't think I could. I got to give him some credit here. Of you can stay up till 9 and do anything functionally.
No,
because I sure can't. Not anymore.
I could never like get high and remember like a full like 3 verses of rhymes that I had written, even if I had sung it like 300 times.
Yeah, or I just think, God, I stay up till 1 these days. I'm feeling it for like 2 days.
Well, that's why, man, he's the early morning stone pimp.
Yep.
Like, he just keeps fucking going. He's got a weird body constitution. Like it's really amazing that he never like overdosed on anything.
Yeah.
So now it's time to dive deep into the actual music of this era of Kid Rock's career. And as we mentioned before, it's country, but it's not all country, perhaps not even mostly country. Honestly, this is probably the most musically diverse period of Kid Rock's career. And that's part of the reason why it's so difficult to summarize all of it within the confines of one episode.
I will say it's diverse, but it is still Kid Rock karaoke in a sense.
Yeah.
It's diverse, but each song he's drawing on, he's store brand of some other artist you liked already.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying he's like inventing new genres. Yeah. He's not like Pink Floyd or something.
I kept in the playlist that you prepared for me, I kept noticing myself thinking like, oh, this is like store brand Bruce Springsteen. Oh, this one is store brand Leonard Skinner. Like I just kept thinking like, oh, this is that celebrity. Famous artist.
Like Kid Rock started out as a DJ. And in many ways, he just never stopped being a DJ.
Yes, I
He's
totally
just like-
agree.
He's just like being a DJ with a full band behind him.
Yeah.
That's
and
pretty.
his own words that he's added to everything.
That's pretty much the story of this guy. But regardless, these songs do vary in kind of tone and content, and I want to kind of present a taxonomy of sorts. So what we're going to do for this this whole next section of the episode is drawing from the 7 albums that we're analyzing here. I've devised a list of like 8 or so categories of songs from Kid Rock in his 4th form. And the first one I talk about is mainstream-ish country. So these are the songs that could be reasonably counted as country music, although I hesitate to use that term because I don't know how many country purists listen to this podcast, but you know,
I'm sure they're out there.
they're definitely out there, and they might have a few words to say,
Yeah.
you know, about the what I'm calling country, but let's just say it's like close to what a reasonable consumer might consider country.
Yeah. To me, it's country.
Yeah. And I'm going to say again, it's bad mostly. Some of it's all right, but it's never as bad as the stuff you'll hear on mainstream country radio. For Cal and I, it's Q106. You put on like anything that they're putting out today and calling country, that stuff is just my personal fucking hell. And it's over processed and even more pandering and just completely inane in every possible way. And Kid Rock at least makes an effort to be a step above that garbage. Just, okay, maybe a pretty low bar, a bar that a fucking slug could clear. But still. Let's play a song and like give you an idea what I'm talking about. This is a song called Born Free.
Fast on a rough road, riding high through the mountains, climbing, twisting, turning further from my home. Young like a new moon rising, fierce through the rain and lightning, wandering out into this great unknown. And I don't want no one to cry, but tell them if I don't survive, I was born free. I was born free. I was born free. Born free.
I do have one thing I gotta ask. No one that listens to this show, obviously, so I guess it's hypothetical, but the people that hear this and really relate go, yeah, I was born fucking free too. Why do you put that in your head as an accomplishment of yours?
Yeah. Like,
You were just a lucky sperm. Congratulations.
yeah, fuck you, everyone that grew up in North Korea.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Look what I did. I came out this vagina.
I made the right choice.
I never understood this whole idea of I was born American. I don't get that. You didn't do shit.
Yeah.
That's not a personality trait. That's just the vagina you came out of.
And what freedoms do they truly cherish and care about? Like, because most of those types of people, they work normal jobs. You know,
Right.
they don't drive on the wrong side of the road.
I know, and God
they don't-
forbid if you protest in the way they don't like, you better
Yeah.
quit that. They don't
Like-
actually even believe in freedom.
like protesting for the freedom to get an abortion.
Yeah.
Like they don't like that kind of freedom.
they like the idea of freedom. They don't want to actually have it.
You know, and like just and also like they got wives, they got kids, you know, they just like they make every micro decision that everybody makes and everybody has to make that constrains your freedom for a better payoff of more security and stability and to make the whole community happen. But I think it's just like an infantile fantasy for them that, like, you know, Like, sure, I'm, working 40 hours a week behind a desk, but like really inside my head, I'm on a Harley on a Pacific highway, with the wind tussling my hair because I still have my hair because I didn't go bald, and just like embracing this spirit of the fucking eagle or whatever.
You know what, Nick? Fuck you. That's everything. Quit making me think this hard.
Don't tell me how to live. We'll get to that next episode. But yeah, so that is Born Free from the 2010 album of the same name. It was actually produced by Rick Rubin.
That motherfucker's everywhere.
He's the biggest wild card in music because, just obviously just did so much great stuff for, Def Jam and, Slayer. Mm-hmm. And then you see him associated with shit like this. It's just, I wonder if that guy has any filter at all.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think he knows what stands out to him. And that's his sole meter if he'll take on a project or not.
I think he collects musical artists like Pokemon. And just like he's gotta catch them all. It's like, I did Kid Rock too. Check it. Obviously, that song really feels like it's meant to be used as a campaign song.
Yeah, big time.
And in fact, it was used by presidential candidate Mitt Romney in 2012.
I was waiting for you to tell me like a Green Party candidate used it. That would have been hilarious.
That would be so based, just in terms of like you adopt that as your song and like 49 different people immediately like accuse you of being racist by association. It'd be really fun to like troll do that.
Yeah.
As like any kind of left-wing candidate.
It's run a right-wing campaign as hard as you can, but with left-wing policies, and just see how many people you get to come with solely based on your pandering.
It would work if you wanted to expand Social Security and Medicare and like have a 100% estate tax and fund 100% public schools. You could do it if you just had the language of that song we just played. It's like, I'm born free. That's why we need single payer healthcare. Okay, so the next category I want to talk about is I'm calling Hicksploitation. And these are tracks that are transparently designed to appeal to rednecks or shore up Kid Rock's redneck credentials or some combination of those two. And depending on your background and your taste, you're either going to find these songs endearing or ungodly awful. Now, guess what camp Cal and I fall into? All right, I'm just going to go ahead with this next song. And this is probably the most obnoxious song we're going to play in this entire series. This is a song called Podunk.
Oh, God.
Mama looking good in some jeans all ripped. Got a baby in a belly and a baby on a hip. Little toe-headed rascal peeing off the porch. Daddy got a shotgun looking for a stork. Oh Lord, and that's don't give a flying radio. Hit it. House full of young'uns and a yard full of junk. Love us if you can, sorry if you can't. Holler if you is, shut up if you ain't.
Jesus fucking Christ. This was the track that broke me in the playlist you sent me, where I was like, I quit listening to good music to listen to this.
Yeah. Well, that's our lives, Cal.
Yep. This one's tough for me, man, because this is what I was talking about earlier in the episode, where it's like, Kid Rock did not grow up this way.
Oh,
this is a man cynically selling this shit to these people, and apparently it's working. But I know if I was going to satire country music, it would sound pretty much like this.
Yeah,
and he's releasing this as an actual ass track.
Yeah, it's like a minstrel show directed against white people.
Yeah,
and the people that he's making fun of are embracing it.
Yeah, they don't realize like To everyone else, this is a joke. You shouldn't be celebrating a house full of youngins and a yard full of junk. That's not good.
Like in the video, like they show a guy dumping a bunch of gasoline on a bunch of like
pallets and shit.
like broken down wood pallets and like house yard shit and tires. And like, okay, you know, maybe that's fun. Maybe it is fun to drink whiskey at 9 a.m. and, you know, barbecue and just like run around shooting guns on a big property. But is it fun to like have 9 cavities that you can't afford to fill? Like, is it fun to like deal with your son coming home with ringworm?
Yeah, it's
like,
similar to the one that you put on there. It's not in the script, but there's a song about Saturdays.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a line in there where he's saying he works 9 to 9, and he literally says at one point, "We're underpaid."
Yeah.
And he's singing it like it's an anthem, like it's joyous, and we should all bond over this, the fact that we're all getting taken advantage of by the system.
It's like, why not shouldn't the next line be like, we need to form a union?
Yeah, we need to rise the fuck up.
Like
we're just going to look forward to Saturday where we're all going to get really drunk and burn stuff. And the whole week will suck again, but this is the life I love. Like, it just, the whole thing, it just falls so flat for me, especially coming from him.
I know. It's because it's his dad, you know, just hard work. Bought 2 car dealerships myself. Like, and he was, you know, that was instilled in him. He rebelled against it, sure. Yeah. But like that kind of stuff never leaves you. And he has to work hard and maintain himself to get to this level of success.
Yeah, he had enough savvy to make it in Hollywood. So you know he's not podunk. He just isn't.
If he was embodying all the values that he is espousing in this song, there's no way he'd be dead by now.
Yeah.
Like,
Nick, it's like if you or me made a song about life on the streets and somehow people bought it. I just don't understand.
Yeah. We talk about how we live in a rundown crack den and like and just sling rocks and like fucking shoot people in the middle of the afternoon, like, and just like with a total straight face, you know. And in the video we still got our glasses on, and like you can tell we're not that at all.
We have a few airbrush tattoos to like make us look a little tougher.
That's just like, I've been to the South a few times. I love it. It's a really fascinating and fun culture that they have, and I like drinking beer. I like hanging out in the woods. I don't understand why you have to embrace the seedy elements, like where just a little bit of education, a little bit of stability, a little bit of indoor plumbing would just make everything so much easier and better. All right, but moving on to something, you know, perhaps less odious, although you'll have to be the judge of that. Our next category is what we've already referred to as Kid Rock karaoke. Now, this genre isn't unique to Kid Rock's fourth form, but it does give us a good excuse to bring up one of this guy's most notorious quote-unquote songs. And there's no way of dodging this one. This is All Summer Long.
It was 1989, my thoughts were short, my hair was long. Caught somewhere between a boy and man. She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan. Splashing through the sandbar, talking by the campfire. It's the simple things in life, like when and where. We didn't have no internet, but man, I never will forget the way the moonlight shined upon her hair.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is the centerpiece of this whole episode.
And this was the only Kid Rock song of the last 20 years I have heard.
Yeah.
It's what kept him relevant at all.
This is the reason why, like you just said, he stayed irrelevant. This bought him an extra decade of, not being an entity at all.
Yeah, somebody actually knows his name, and it's because of he stole from 2 other already made songs, turned it into this, and then the thing is, though, the worst part about it, Nick, is after listening to the playlist you sent me and all the Kid Rock songs of the last 7 albums.
Mm-hmm.
Might be the best song this dude has made in 20 years. As much as I hate to admit that.
It's as a standalone song, just irrespective of whatever you know about the authorship, about the author, just as a pure 5-minute sample of music, it is enjoyable. It's very enjoyable, just as a song.
Yep. It's when you start digging into the fact that it's an amalgam of 6 other better songs, you start to have a problem.
Yeah, this is the musical equivalent of button mashing, for you gamers out there. It's not only is he stealing primarily from Werewolves of London and Sweet Home Alabama, the thematically, who doesn't love summer?
Right.
Who doesn't remember their childhood, more or less fondly?
Yeah, summer memories, hanging out with your friends. That's reading the YouTube comments is always telling. When you have people like, this is a great song, reminds me of summer. Yeah. That's why he says summer in it a bunch of times. It has this feel good feel to it.
Yeah, it's just it's the lowest hanging fruit possible. And he really hit it out of the park because this song was fucking everywhere.
Nick, we should write a song called Good Times. And I want to see how generic we can make those lyrics and still get someone on YouTube to be like, wow, this really reminds me of my good times.
We're going to Google, what are the top 10 things people like?
Just write songs about that.
Whether it's their own kids or chocolate or sex or, corn dogs, roller coasters, and just mention all those things in order. Set it to the most common chord progression, maybe it's 1-4-5 or whatever, that people know, and that's it. And the song is just called Good Things.
We're gonna go 1-4-5-4 and make it about petting dogs. There you go.
Yeah.
We'll wait for the comments to roll in about I love dogs. My dog is great.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so much I could say about this song. So much I've written down in my notes, but I guess the thing that annoys me the most is that this song as a whole, the whole is demonstrably worse than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
This does sound good. Does it sound better than Werewolves of London?
No, yeah, it sounds good off the back of Werewolves of London. It's because that was a good song. That's why this is good.
Yeah, it's the reason it sounds good is because the source material is fucking awesome. Sweet Home Alabama is a great song, even though it's massively overplayed.
To death, yeah.
And I also love how he uses every part of Sweet Home Alabama, including the piano solo at the end, and it's so ridiculous.
It's frustrating to me that someone can outsell legitimate artists doing this.
Yeah.
That's I think my biggest gripe with this song. Oh, and rhyming things with things.
Yeah, trying different things, smoking funny things. Gee, I wonder what those funny things he's smoking are, Cal.
It's rolled up sticky notes, stuff he shouldn't be smoking. That's why it's funny.
We had a friend growing up who used to just randomly smoke plants that he found in his backyard, not weed. He wasn't cool enough to have a weed connection, but he would find dandelions or random fucking lavender, what random fucking flowers that he found in his
he's
backyard.
So lucky that didn't go horribly wrong for him.
I know.
It's he accidentally grabs a datura plant.
Yeah. God bless the primordial apes that discovered mushrooms and shit for us, but they are standing on top of a mountain of bodies that ate all the wrong mushrooms and didn't have a good time, man. But yeah, this song, it got super huge. This was a #1 hit. It actually wasn't #1 in the US, believe it or not, but it went #1 in Australia and 6 different European countries. And
why are you guys doing this?
It's actually very rare for Kid Rock to do well outside of the US. A lot of you guys are non-American, so please like DM us if you can explain.
Please explain.
Usually America is the one that has to answer for its crimes, but now the onus is on.
We're trying to get rid of this guy, and you guys are out here making him popular again.
The only thing I can surmise is perhaps in Australia and in Germany and the UK, they have not heard Sweet Home Alabama, and they got fooled into thinking that this...
I actually do think there's a bit of that. And I also think they too enjoy memories of good summers. That's where you have the problem.
Yeah, it's just every temperate climate is fertile grounds for Kid Rock's music. The song did really well, although since there are 8 people listed in the songwriting credits, he couldn't have gotten that many royalties off of it. Uncle Kracker is listed as one of the writers of this project. So
he's the unseen hero of this man's career.
Yeah.
If he had never hooked up with Uncle Kracker, I just don't think we'd even be doing this episode.
I feel bad because I feel like I've kind of shafted Uncle Kracker like by not covering his music just because we haven't had enough time. But like he does, the more I read into Kid Rock, he seems like the secret sauce.
Yep.
And given that none of the music was written by Kid Rock himself, I'm going to give him credit for the smoking funny things line because there's not a whole lot of else he could have contributed to this song.
He's sitting there going like, I'm a guy who goes by the name Uncle Kracker. Nobody is going to question this line if I put this in here. No one expects me to do better than this.
And then finally, this song has a kind of a weird origin story. So it starts with a guy named Mike Clark. We haven't mentioned him so far, but he's a really important figure in Kid Rock's career. He's a producer who worked with Kid Rock, like going way back into the Grit Sandwiches days. And Mike Clark was one day listening to his iPod on shuffle when Werewolves of London came on. And he just decided like, oh, this is a really catchy song. I'm going to try pairing up that piano part with a drum machine beat. And he turned it into something that he called Werewolf Beat. Now, here's where we get another old Detroit connection in here, because Mike Clark was also a longtime producer with Insane Clown Posse. So the Werewolf Beat was something that he had just kind of had on his hard drive, and he decided that he was going to use it as a free CD single to hand out to kids at the gathering of the Juggalos that year. But instead, Kid Rock managed to hear this, and he's like, no, wait. I want to use that for my own song.
Wow.
And then Sweet Home Alabama comes into play, and that's why we have Werewolves of London.
God, this thing, so it could have just died being stepped on by kids in their cars. Like, we all throw our CDs down there. But Kid Rock had to bring this thing out into the world.
Yep. You got the Juggalos to thank for that. All right, so switching gears a bit, the next category in our analysis is what you might call boyfriend country. You see, even though he's an American badass, Kid Rock does have a softer side, and occasionally he'll show it off for some of the ladies in the audience. Here and there, you do find a Kid Rock song that sounds like it was vying for entry in the soundtrack of a shitty Nicholas Sparks rom-com. So I want to play you one of these softer songs. This is called Johnny Cash.
I like the French braids in your hair and them faded blue jeans that you wear. I like to watch you shoot your guns, and I like the way you love having fun. Oh baby, oh baby, oh. I like the way you turn me on.
All right, so how does that one make you feel, Cal?
It's a ripoff of another song. It's driving me insane that I can't figure it out.
I mean, to be fair, every song that... I can't tell you how many times
I know,
I've
but-
played Kid Rock before one of my friends or my girlfriend, and they immediately say like, oh, this is like that other song. Like, it's, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't think this guy's ever written one original chord change or melody in his life.
And that's where it gets frustrating to read you know, again, you read through all the YouTube comments. There was like, I don't know how you can get better than this song. And I'm going, it's easy. Go find the
God.
song it was.
Yeah.
You're listening to a rehash of something and you don't even know.
But what about the general vibe? Like that whole, like, does it make you want to like spread a blanket on the grass and lay down and watch the sunset with your wife? Like,
No. I think even in high school, the type of like chicks that would have fallen for this song weren't my type. Like, this song does literally nothing for me.
there's a type of girl that will see a guy's Tinder profile where he's holding up a fish and be like, that's my man.
Yep.
And that's the kind of girl that is going to dig this song. There's so much that I like love about it. First of all, like just lyrically, it's kind of the nice version of Nickelback's Figured You Out. We're like, I like the French braids in your hair. And also like just, why is he calling it Johnny Cash?
I was hoping you'd answer that for me. I couldn't find any comparison or any reason.
The only thing that even makes sense is that like, okay, maybe he's saying that like, I want to be Johnny and you be June Carter Cash, you know, but that's just like one guy that was married to another person. Like it feels like he's just reaching for an excuse to call this song Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I think so. It's Johnny Cash fan fiction.
Johnny Cash fan fiction. He loves doing that though. Like he so desperately wants to be accepted in Nashville and to have country fans like him.
You gotta write your own music first, dude. I don't know what to tell him.
He thinks the cool by association thing is going to work. Like, just like, hey, you like Johnny Cash? Well, me too. I got a whole song called Johnny Cash. Does it sound like Johnny Cash? No. All right. And then the next category I want to talk about is one that I'm simply going to call bluesy good time Southern rock. Honestly, I feel like this is the category that takes up the most of this era of music. And basically what he's doing is just like mashing up old time 70s bar band rock and just adding whatever, like, you know, Kid Rock, Detroit badass thing that he feels he can add to that. Some of it isn't bad. Like some of it I actually just kind of like. You can like something without appreciating it.
Right.
And that's how I feel about a lot of this era of Kid Rock music. It's like the music does not offend my ear in any way. I just like, it makes me want to listen to Skinner or Bob Seger or Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Like I was saying, it's like the store brand of all these different artists.
Yeah.
But I want to listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan. We have Stevie Ray Vaughan at home. You get home when it's Kid Rock.
It's just like in an era of, you know, streaming music and where it is just as easy to find Lynyrd Skynyrd as it is to find Kid Rock.
Yeah, why would you pick him?
Yeah, it's just like, unless you've just totally burned through all of your old records.
Unless you just fucking hate yourself and have no self-respect.
It's like, I want to hear that from a guy who sounds even raspier and more annoying. And who like
and I want someone who reminds me how badass he is, like 10 times in the song.
Yeah, because you know, Bob Seger doesn't talk about like how many bitches he fucks. Like maybe he's gay. I don't know. I definitely know that Kid Rock's not gay because he says so in every song.
He doesn't fuck with fairies. He told me that.
So I do have a song that I wanted to kind of present for this category, and I think this one's pretty fun. This is a song called Chickens in the Pen.
Oh, Jesus.
The mule keeps kicking, the chicken's in the pen. Yeah.
So I was playing that song for my girlfriend in the car. I didn't tell her it was Kid Rock because she wouldn't have let me put it on.
Right.
But her immediate reaction was like, whoever's making this song, they better be black. She's like, yeah, bitch, it's the blackest motherfucker out of Romeo, Michigan.
That's why I get to say the N-word in my songs.
Yeah, well, thankfully he doesn't do that a whole lot.
Right.
In these
he's
songs.
learned. Dude, this is I really don't like when songs just have like a stomp clap beat.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. That's the song.
Yep.
And this is in that category. Like,
Yeah,
nothing happens in that song if you listen to the whole thing.
This is as basic as it gets. And but okay, just imagine that you are at a county fair, not a state fair. It's not quite classy enough for the Wisconsin State Fair, but maybe not even the Dane County Fair. Maybe you got to go
Yeah,
into
we're up
like
north.
Adams County Fair, and you've had like 4 or 5 plastic glasses of Michelob Ultra, and
That wouldn't do it.
Okay, so like
Let's
maybe
say 4 or 5 like double whiskey Cokes. Get me lit.
yeah, but it's like it's not Jim Beam, it's like Old Thompson
Yeah.
whiskey, and like you've had 2 corn dogs and a funnel cake, and you've lost $25 at the Carney Games or whatever, and you saunter up to the stage and a guy's playing this song. Like, don't tell me a part of you's not going to kind of get into it.
I would sit in the vicinity while I looked at my phone. I would like it that much. I'd like it enough for that.
Okay, fair enough. He moved the needle a little bit.
Now, this one is interesting, though, because this one is one of the biggest ones where you can point out that he is trying to sing these days.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pick on his voice too much.
No.
I don't think it's great. I'm not saying that. I don't think it is bad.
No.
It does not detract from the song. Like, I think he really... If you had told me the dude rapping on grit sandwiches would start doing a country singing career...
Yeah.
I would not have expected it to be as acceptable as Kid Rock is on these albums.
I think what he did was he started just to embrace how like naturally raspy like his voice is. You could tell that on Only God Knows Why. He did autotune because he was embarrassed by the fact that he couldn't sing, couldn't carry a tune. But eventually he just kind of realized that doesn't really matter with the type of music I really want to make. And much like Miley did for a period of time, you can make music with a raspy voice, and it actually complements what you're doing if you.
I prefer
have the right
a
kind of
raspy
music.
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like when singers have raspy voices.
I will say there are some songs where it's too much, where like he clearly didn't do any prep before he headed into the studio, and it sounds a little too rough for my taste. But it sounds like he is not ashamed to be not a professional vocalist.
No, I was surprised how listenable he was.
Yeah.
He's a good performer, and he's making this style work.
And if you pair him with somebody like Sheryl Crow, like who can sing, like it
he's
actually
good
works.
enough. Yep.
Now, next up is the category that I'm going to call scumbag rock. This is music that is closer in tone to the Kid Rock we heard on Devil Without a Cause, albeit with a bit less of a rap influence. Basically, it's just typical hard rock for, those kind of guys that were punching each other in the dick at the cornhole competition that Cal witnessed. So this is a song called So Hot from the album Rock and Roll Jesus. And by the way, So Hot is spelled with 2 T's.
Gotta have it.
Because it's that hot.
You got a body like the devil and you smell like sex. I can tell because you know you're so high. I wanna get you alone. You're so high. I wanna get you stoned. You're so high. I don't wanna be your friend. I wanna fuck you like I'm never gonna see you again.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That was a straight up, that felt like a Nickelback B-side.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I wanted to mention this one is like that is clearly him. Like he listened to Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Like, I could do that.
Right. Which I actually totally understand why he thought that.
Oh yeah, they're the same demographic basically.
Yep.
And actually, it is true that Kid Rock and Chad Kroeger are friends in real life. So
For whatever reason, that doesn't surprise me even a little.
no,
They're both marketing men more than true musicians. And I think they have a lot to bond over of what they like.
yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. But like Jesus, that song, it is just he really just synthesized every song on Dark Horse and just like
Just made it less catchy.
yeah. We were
So Hot is less good of a hook than some of these crazy, like Something in Your Mouth songs.
well, like in the all summer long comments section, we were watching or reading a lot of comments that were like, oh, I remember summer with my
Right.
girl. Like, is this one like I know a girl who's hot?
It is that stupid.
Like,
I hear that song and it reminds me of Ashley, who I know. You know, it's like, if you have like a 20-person sphere of acquaintances, this song makes a lot of sense for the one hot girl you know.
yeah. I'm not going to say there's like a lot of songs like that in this period, but like there's just enough of them that like Kid Rock has to remind you of who he is and what his roots are. That like, don't worry, like I'm singing with Sheryl Crow, but I'm still a badass.
It's weird because so we've been watching the music videos for each of these clips as you hear them, and it's just weird to watch his costume changes from what song type he's going for.
Yeah.
It's like in So Hot, he is dressed like a country pimp. Like it is incredibly overdone dress, and he steps out of the fancy door limo to do his show.
Yeah.
Whereas in Podunk, he didn't even bother to put on a shirt for that music video.
No, he had a shirt, like no shirt, cut off jeans, and like some like weird gold chain.
Yeah, and this just goes back to like, if you were to take him at face value, like who is Kid Rock? You just have no idea. He's just this amalgam of ideas. Sometimes I was born in a trailer and, I hung off my mom's teat with my 5 other brothers. And other times it's like, I'm the pimp of the nation still. You just don't know which to believe.
And it's so weird because like I've seen like relatively recent concerts that this guy puts on, and he does mix it up. He does do songs from all eras. He does still do like Devil Without a Cause stuff, and he just mixes it in with this stuff, and like somehow it works.
I think it works, yeah, because like you said, it all comes down to these small town gas station Americana type people.
Yeah.
This does all work for that exact person.
It's like they want to hear the one or two songs that they really connect with, like Podunk, But then like the softer stuff, they'll go to the bathroom or get a beer, and they're okay with it as long as like he panders to them the moment that they really need to be pandered to.
Right. And I think you and I are just we're putting more analysis into Kid Rock than the average Kid Rock fan ever will in a million years.
A lot of these people, they just want that like real surface level slice of Kid Rock's attention. They want to, to use a common term, they want to feel seen.
Yeah.
And Kid Rock makes these podunk people feel seen, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
And then the next category I want to talk about is what we will call this sappy country ballad. Now, obviously, you have the song Picture that we played, and I think that what that song did is it proves to Kid Rock that he can get away with at least one of those type of tender, grandma-pleasing songs on each album. I'm going to say, something you might not agree with, Cal. It works to me. Like, I actually kind of like these songs probably more than the other types of songs in Kid Rock's oeuvre. And I want to like kind of play what I think is the best representation of this category. This is actually another duet that he did with Sheryl Crow. This is from the 2010 album Born Free, and this song is called Collide.
knife these bad luck blues. We both got scars from the hell we've been through now. Somebody's gotta win, somebody's gotta lose. So let's roll the dice one more time, take a chance on love again tonight. Risk it all, lay it on the line. Let the skeletons fight for life tonight. We'll hold on tight as we collide.
I know I'm torturing you with this, Cal.
I know I'm having trouble with the ballads. It's like I don't even know what to say. It's everyone knows I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah.
So what can I add?
Maybe I just like the fact that like he's getting a little bit less pretentious, like in those moments, and showing, even if it's fake vulnerability, like a little bit of vulnerability. And
these are the least like coming off like satire, but is not actually satire
Yeah.
of his songs.
it just reminds me of like just like a slow paced indie film where like the characters like finally realize they're in love with each other. I'm kind of a sucker for that kind of shit, and it's hard to digest from a guy like Kid Rock who just knowing all that we know about him, but I could see also why it works. Like I could see why a woman would really like that, because they fall for the bad boy with a heart of gold. Like
roll the dice on him and it works out.
Yeah, like just that's probably exactly what Pam Anderson saw in him. It's like, oh, this guy's bad, but he says that he loves me. You know, it's just a tale as old as time.
I have several older relatives I could picture really getting down with this song.
Oh yeah, I could absolutely. I would not be surprised if somewhere out in these United States, in Kansas or North Dakota or somewhere like that, somebody played this at their anniversary. And did a slow dance in the middle of the VFW hall, you know?
For sure.
Then finally, we have what I'm going to call the rock and roll jerk-off category. These are songs where basically all Kid Rock does is talk about how much he loves rock and roll. He will pack these songs with as many shout outs and references as he possibly can, making damn sure you know how much he digs Lynyrd Skynyrd, ZZ Top, Steve Miller, AC/DC, Chuck Berry, or anyone else haunting the latest Rolling Stone retrospective list. And I gotta say, it's just, I really can't overemphasize how integral this particular thing is to Kid Rock's career and how much he does it. And okay, like on the one hand, I'm glad that he's acknowledging his influences, but oftentimes it feels that he is less a genuine musician than a music fan who got handed a microphone.
I think that's dead on. I also really liked your DJ comment from earlier.
Yeah.
he does. He still comes off as like a guy who's like, this is a thing I think is good. If I play that, then I'm good.
I can only hope that there are enough people out there who discovered Bob Seger through Kid Rock, discovered Greg Allman through Kid Rock.
Makes it all worth it.
And if that actually happened to you, then like, you know, maybe it's worth some of Kid Rock's other crimes against humanity. But it's really overbearing to hear him do it time and time again. So let's play the song I selected for this category. This is a song called Mr. Rock and Roll.
He got a song to sing, he got an axe to grind. He's far and wide, but still hard to find. He go wop, bop, a loo, bop, a wop, and boom. He sang Long Tall Sally, Sweet 16, Cook Island, Miss Smiley, and a Maybelline. He said the whole world walking to New Orleans. Mr. Hiatus, won't you save us from your radio? 'Cause he's hip-hop, pop, punk, rock, he's got no soul. Either way, we're proud to welcome back the star of the show. So put your hands
And Nick, I have a thought experiment for you.
Yeah.
If I take Metallica's Master of Puppets and I just replace the words with "I'm Mr. Metal, I'm Mr. Metal, they don't make metal anymore, I'm Mr. Metal,"
I'm
does
pulling
that
the
make
strings.
me a great metal musician? Because according to YouTube comments and all the fucking morons commenting on this video, it does.
God. Yeah. I mean, remember when like there was that scene in Stranger Things where like that one character
Yeah, and all of a sudden-
played Metallica, and it's like, oh wow, Stranger Things is so metal. Look
Right,
at this
I
metal
know.
thing that they've introduced to a new generation of teens. Like that shit works.
Yep.
Maybe in his head, Kid Rock thinks that he is saving rock and roll somehow. There actually is so that's from the album Rebel Soul. That album also features another song called God Save Rock and Roll.
Noble cause, but to save rock and roll, you need to make some new great rock songs.
Yeah, like just this isn't going to convince anybody that rock and roll is worth saving, in my opinion. Well, I guess besides that one person.
Right, besides random YouTube people.
But I really doubt that they got into Kid Rock with this album or this song. I think they got into Kid Rock early, with
like Picture or some shit, probably.
or maybe they got into him with either Bawa to Bawa or All Summer Long, and they held on to him because he keeps playing this type of music. But like, I don't see any 17-year-old who listens to hip hop and modern pop and maybe some EDM. Can you name one kid that would listen to that song and be an instant convert to good rock and roll?
That 100% was aimed at people who remember old school rock and roll.
Yeah.
But they don't remember it well enough to know that he just took one of those songs and sang over it.
And for the people who do know, it becomes like this game of like name that reference. So it's like wop wop doo wop wop bamboo, or like, blue suede shoes. It's like he's dropping as many Easter eggs as he can and just hoping that you're going to like run around the lawn like a toddler scooping them up. like that's the game it is. You can do that for one song in your career. You can't make a career out of it and expect us to respect you.
Maybe I will make a career out of cutting up Kid Rock cut-ups. and call it Cal Rock or something.
I really love the film The Big Lebowski. I'm going to write and direct a movie called Market Zero, where it's just two guys sitting on a couch watching The Big Lebowski and smoking weed and drinking White Russians and laughing like, yeah, you can't mess with the Jesus.
At least 4 times they say, do you remember how good movies were? You have to say at least once.
It's better than this crap they got nowadays. That's a whole 2-hour experience coming to a cinema near you.
It's funny because it sounds ridiculous when you say it in the frame of a movie. Everyone's like, oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason with music, it works.
Totally
I think
fun.
it's like people don't have the oral memory as much as they have a visual memory or something. There's like some reason that you can completely just steal a song, but if the vibes are there, no one's going to notice.
I don't even know if it's a thing of them not having a memory. I think a lot of times it's that they do have the memory and they like it, and they just I like this thing because it reminds me of this other thing. Mm-hmm. For some reason, you just can't listen to that other thing. You'd have to listen to the new thing. All right, so that wraps up our taxonomy portion. I think we've established that, perhaps Kid Rock never went full country. He's done other stuff around the edges. But, you have to admit, he did make every effort he could to ingratiate himself into that world. Now, the question is, did it work? And the answer is basically yes.
Yeah.
Sure, Kid Rock never dominated the country world on the scale of a Kenny Chesney or a Luke Bryan, but he held his own, and he proved an enduring fixture in the genre. In addition to making friends with Hank Williams Jr., Kid Rock wormed his way into onstage performances with the likes of Willie Nelson, Martina McBride, and Zac Brown. In fact, Kid Rock even hosted the Country Music Awards in 2010. I couldn't actually find footage of this on YouTube, but apparently he was drunk for most of the time, like visibly drunk. And at one point, Sheryl Crow won some kind of award, and so of course she had to be up on stage with him, and Kid Rock just says to her, you just like have my baby and get it over with? She kind of awkwardly responded to that.
Not if you were the last man on Earth, Robert.
I'm putting your picture away for good. In the process of embracing country music and leaning ever harder on his redneck image, Kid Rock steadily assumed the trappings of that culture. He started to attend NASCAR events, sported Confederate flags, bragged about the guns that he owns, and went hunting with Ted Nugent. The once iconoclastic Kid Rock was now cultivating a very specific, very established audience, one that exists almost exclusively on the political right. And while Kid Rock was never all that political himself, he spotted an obvious and lucrative opportunity. Now this, my friends, is where things really turn ugly. In the last episode of our series, we're going to talk about the politicization of Kid Rock and his full-throated embrace of Donald Trump and all the unseemly things he represents. Get ready, folks. All of that shit is coming up in our final episode of this series, we promise. Kid Rock, Part 5.
You would never guess that this weird little flat-top kid would eventually be palling around with, a former president of the U.S.
It's super fucking wild. And I know that a lot of our audience is going to recoil at the prospect of hearing Donald Trump pal around with Kid Rock, or hearing about Kid Rock's politics at all. But I'm going to say this right away. It is more interesting than you think. There's going to be a lot of unexpected places that this goes because it's not as clear cut as you think. He didn't just start out as this just obnoxious conservative. He kind of snaked his way into that world the way he snaked his way into every other thing that he did.
I'm sure it's you're not born Tucker Carlson, right? things become this way. You work your way into this through a perverted desire for fame. And honestly, Kid Rock being a right-wing pundit, let's say he quit music entirely and just became a guy on Fox News.
Could be.
Wouldn't surprise me with what I know about him at this point.
No. He's definitely started to pander to that audience, become the Fox News grandpa.
Yeah, it's this my crowd already likes this. If I just lean into it, think of how much opportunity there is here.
But what I'm gonna kind of lay out in Part 5 is that says a lot, not only about Kid Rock, but about the state of the modern right wing in general. It's the fact that he embraced them is interesting, but the fact that they embraced him is also interesting. So I'm going to lay all of that out in Part 5. And of course, we're going to get to some really awful music that you're going to love to hate as well. So stick around with us. Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for enduring my super mucusy fucking voice. Definitely be sure to give us a 5-star rating on whatever app you're using. I mean, it takes 5 seconds. It's even easier for you to do that than it is for Kid Rock to come up with a song All Summer Long. So just go ahead and get that over with already. And then you can follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Email us at polishingturdspodcast@gmail.com. Spread the word, spread the turd.
Ooh, new catchphrase.
All right. And then I gotta shoe in our other catchphrase, which I already fucking forgot. All right, forget it. Just go away. We're done.
Not endearing.
Let me tell you about Judge Wong. I'll tell you right now. He said giving him credit for something he would otherwise love to do, to be in front of a camera, is not community service. I understand his point. If he wanted to punish me, he should put me in jail. But he didn't. So the point being is,
If he loves to practice law, he's an attorney, right? He became a judge. Why doesn't he go over and practice fucking law in Iraq for a little while, for a month, if he's so badass?